Good morning, everyone. I'm excited to welcome you to today's session. Today, we'll be exploring modern authentication and security in Microsoft 365. The focus will be on understanding Azure AD, conditional access, and token management, all aimed at helping us achieve secure and seamless access. Over the next few slides, we'll dive into how these components work together to protect our environment while providing a smooth user experience. Let's get started. Welcome to our discussion on modern authentication in Microsoft 365. Today, I want to emphasize that modern authentication is much more than just typing in a password. It's a sophisticated system that involves multiple background checks and ongoing evaluations to ensure your access remains secure. While signing in might seem straightforward and seamless for users, behind the scenes, Azure Active Directory is performing a series of layered security validations. These validations are designed to continuously verify your identity and protect your account from potential threats. Understanding this complexity is crucial. It helps us manage security effectively while also providing a smooth user experience. As we move forward, I'll show how these background processes work together to keep our environment both secure and user-friendly. Let's talk about what happens when you sign into Microsoft 365. Think of it like passing through a security checkpoint, where there are multiple layers of verification to keep everything safe. Now, Azure AD isn't just checking your password, it's also looking at a bunch of other factors. For example, it assesses the health of your device, your location, and whether your device is compliant with security policies. This process is what I like to call the trust machine. It acts like a vigilant security guard, constantly evaluating signals from your device and environment. Based on these signals, it decides whether to grant access, challenge you for more verification, or block access altogether. So, in essence, this trust machine is working behind the scenes, making sure that only legitimate users get in, and that the security of your account is always maintained. It's a crucial part of how modern authentication keeps your data safe in Microsoft 365. Now, let's look at how Azure AD checks user signals to make authentication smarter and more secure. First, it considers signals like user risk and suspicious activity. For example, if there's recent unusual behavior or potential security threats, Azure AD dynamically adjusts access decisions accordingly. Next, it evaluates the health and update status of devices during sign-in. This ensures that only devices that are secure and up-to-date can access resources. Then, Azure AD takes into account user location and network context, whether you're on a trusted office network or connecting from an unknown Wi-Fi. These signals help determine the level of risk associated with an access attempt. Lastly, it assesses device compliance and enrollment status, such as whether the device is managed through Intune. This comprehensive evaluation helps maintain a secure environment while providing seamless access. All these signals work together to ensure that our security is both robust and adaptive to real-time conditions. Now, let's explore how modern authentication and security work together within Microsoft 365 through these conditional access policies. Think of these policies as a live rulebook that adapts in real time to each sign-in attempt. They don't just rely on static rules. Instead, they interact with signals like device compliance, location, or risk level to make smarter access decisions. For example, if a device isn't compliant or if someone signing in from an unusual location, the system can enforce additional security measures or even block access altogether. This dynamic interaction ensures that access controls are tailored specifically to each situation, keeping our environment secure without adding unnecessary friction. Another key point is the role of multi-factor authentication, or MFA. Conditional access policies can require users to verify their identity through multiple methods, further strengthening security, especially in critical scenarios. And all of this ties together into what I like to call a living rulebook, constantly evolving, making trust decisions based on the latest signals and context. It's a sophisticated approach that helps us stay ahead of threats while maintaining seamless access for legitimate users. Let's talk about some of the unexpected behaviors we might see in conditional access. First, during risk assessments, it's common for enforcement to be temporarily relaxed. This means that sometimes policies that usually block access or require extra verification might seem ineffective in certain scenarios. Next, users often have valid sessions from earlier sign-ins. Because these sessions are still active, they don't need to sign in again, which can reduce the frequency of authentication prompts. Additionally, devices can be marked as compliant, which allows users to bypass some security measures. If a device has already been verified as compliant, the system might skip additional checks, making security appear less strict. Finally, there are cases where users manage to bypass expected security challenges, like multi-factor authentication, even when policies specify they should be enforced. All these points highlight how, in practice, some of the intended security controls can be temporarily relaxed or bypassed, which is important to keep in mind when managing security in Microsoft 365. Now, let's take a closer look at the web of signals and decisions in Azure AD. One of the key concepts here is user risk assessment. Basically, access decisions are influenced by the risk level associated with the user. If a user's behavior or credentials appear suspicious, the system can adapt and add extra layers of verification. Moving on, compliance and context play a crucial role in how access is granted or denied. Compliance requirements, like regulatory standards, are integrated into the decision-making process, ensuring that access aligns with organizational policies and legal obligations. Next, we have device state evaluation. The state of the device, whether it's compliant, secure, or potentially compromised, serves as a critical signal. A trusted device can facilitate smoother access, while an untrusted device might trigger additional security steps. Finally, network location analysis is also important. The location from which a user is accessing the system can influence access decisions. For example, access from a known, secure network might be granted more easily than access from an unfamiliar or risky location. All these signals, user risk, compliance, device state, and network location, work together to form a comprehensive picture that guides access decisions. This interconnected approach helps us create a more secure and adaptive authentication environment in Microsoft 365. Managing these complexities requires a deep understanding of token lifecycles and how signals interact within the system. When policies change, there's often a delay before tokens are refreshed, which can lead to inconsistencies in access. This means that even after a policy update, some tokens might still carry outdated permissions, causing unexpected behavior. Overlapping sessions and various signals can also override new policies, making access management even more complicated. Additionally, existing valid tokens may carry previous trust decisions, which can result in users gaining access in ways we didn't anticipate. This is especially evident when users log in from new or unexpected locations without prompts, catching administrators by surprise. All of these factors highlight how critical it is to have insight into token life cycles and signal interactions to effectively manage access in a modern, secure environment. Let's take a closer look at access tokens versus refresh tokens, which are really the backbone of authentication in Microsoft 365. First, we'll talk about refresh tokens. These are longer-lived tokens, meaning they can last for days or even weeks. Their main role is to silently obtain new access tokens when the current ones expire, so users don't have to sign in again constantly. On the other hand, we have access tokens. These are short-lived, typically lasting about an hour. Their purpose is to grant access to specific resources during that time. This short lifespan enhances security by limiting the window in which a potentially compromised token can be misused. So, in summary, refresh tokens help maintain a seamless experience by renewing access tokens behind the scenes, while access tokens provide the actual permission to access resources for a limited time. Together, they create a robust, secure system that balances usability and security, which is essential in modern authentication for Microsoft 365. Let's talk about how refresh tokens can impact policy enforcement. When users have valid refresh tokens that were issued before a policy change, they can continue accessing resources without needing to re-authenticate right away. This means there's a built-in lag between when a policy is updated and when it actually takes full effect across all sessions. Essentially, it can take hours or even days for these updates to fully propagate. This delay is primarily due to refresh tokens allowing users to maintain access even after policies have changed. So, the key takeaway is that refresh tokens can delay the enforcement of new conditional access policies, which is important to keep in mind when managing security and access controls in Microsoft 365. Let's take a closer look at the anatomy of access tokens and how they support modern authentication and security in Microsoft 365. First, you'll notice that access tokens have short lifespans. This is a deliberate design choice to limit risk exposure and ensure that access rights are frequently reevaluated. It helps keep our environment secure by reducing the window of opportunity for potential misuse. Next, these tokens can contain location data, such as the city or IP address from where the request originates. Including this information allows us to contextualize access requests, making it easier to spot unusual activity or enforce location-based policies. Additionally, access tokens include device information, which helps us understand what device is being used to access our resources. They also carry compliance status, ensuring that the device meets our security standards before granting access. This adds an extra layer of security by verifying device health and compliance. Finally, the tokens contain essential claims that define who the user is and what they are permitted to do. This includes user identity details, group memberships, and specific permissions or scopes for different applications, such as read or write access for SharePoint. These claims are fundamental for enforcing proper access control within our environment. By understanding these components, we see how access tokens are a vital part of maintaining a secure, flexible, and context-aware authentication system in Microsoft 365. Let's take a look at how MSAL works behind the scenes to support modern authentication and security in Microsoft 365. On this slide, you'll see that users enjoy seamless access across popular apps like Teams, SharePoint, and Outlook. This smooth experience is essential, but it's important to recognize that it can sometimes mask the complexity and potential delays involved in policy enforcement. The key point here is that all of this happens seamlessly and invisibly to the user. The process occurs in the background, without interrupting or prompting the user for additional authentication steps. This background process ensures that users can move quickly and efficiently through their workflows. Now, when an access token expires, which happens after a certain period, MSAL takes care of renewing it automatically. It uses a refresh token to request a new access token, so users don't have to manually log in again. This is called access token expiry handling, and it's a crucial part of maintaining continuous access without disruptions. Finally, all of this token refresh management is handled silently by MSAL. It manages the entire process behind the scenes, ensuring security and user convenience go hand in hand. So, in summary, MSAL's behind-the-scenes work is what keeps the experience seamless, secure, and efficient for every user across Microsoft 365. Let's talk about the risks associated with long-lived refresh tokens. As you know, in modern authentication within Microsoft 365, refresh tokens play a crucial role in maintaining user sessions without requiring frequent logins. However, if these refresh tokens are stolen, they can be a serious security threat. Attackers who acquire a stolen refresh token can use it to keep gaining access to resources indefinitely. This access remains active until the tokens are either revoked or they naturally expire. That's why implementing strong security measures is so important. Things like risk-based conditional access, session controls, and vigilant monitoring of sign-in logs. These strategies help us detect and respond to suspicious activities promptly. The key takeaway is that long-lived refresh tokens can pose significant security risks if compromised. An attacker with a stolen token can continuously obtain new access tokens, leading to prolonged unauthorized access. This underscores the importance of managing and securing refresh tokens carefully to prevent potential breaches and protect our environment. Let's talk about managing token lifetimes and session controls. In today's world of modern authentication and security, especially within Microsoft 365, it's crucial to have control over user sessions. Administrators can leverage Azure AD session controls to enforce reauthentication, which adds an extra layer of security by ensuring users verify their identity when needed. Another key point is that administrators have the ability to force sign-outs or revoke refresh tokens. This means if there's any suspicion of compromise or a need to quickly cut off access, they can do so instantly, effectively terminating sessions across devices. Additionally, administrators can influence how long tokens are valid by adjusting token lifetimes. Shortening these windows can limit how long a user can access resources without reauthenticating, helping to reduce risk if a device is lost or compromised. Overall, these controls give us the flexibility to balance security with user convenience, ensuring that access is both secure and manageable in our Microsoft 365 environment. Let's talk about the trade-offs between security and productivity when implementing modern authentication and security in Microsoft 365. On one hand, enhancing user experience by reducing login prompts can make daily work smoother and more efficient. However, this benefit comes with increased risk exposure because users stay logged in for longer periods, which can be a vulnerability if their accounts are compromised. It's important to carefully consider your organization's priorities and the current threat landscape when finding the right balance. For example, improving security by requiring more frequent reauthentication can help protect your data, but it might disrupt user workflows with repeated login prompts. Additionally, longer token lifetimes can support a more seamless experience, but could also extend the window of opportunity for malicious activity. Conversely, shorter token lifetimes enhance security by limiting how long a token can be used, but they may cause inconveniences, like mobile apps losing background connectivity or users having to log in more often. Ultimately, it's about weighing these factors, balancing security needs with user productivity, to find the optimal approach for your organization. Now, let's talk about how conditional access interacts with the token lifecycle and some of the delays and complexities involved. When using modern authentication in Microsoft 365, Azure AD reevaluates policies only when a new token is requested. This means that if a policy changes, it doesn't immediately affect existing sessions. Instead, there's a delay window during which the old policies still apply. For example, refresh tokens issued before a policy change can still grant access under the old rules, allowing users to continue their work without interruption. Similarly, existing access tokens remain valid until their set expiration time, even if policies have changed in the meantime. This leads us to the concept of policy change delays. Because of how tokens are issued and validated, policy updates don't take effect right away. Instead, there's a lag that can sometimes cause confusion or security concerns if immediate enforcement is needed. Understanding these timing nuances helps us better manage security and user experience, especially in dynamic environments where policies frequently change. Now, let's talk about the real-world impact of token lifecycles on security. In modern authentication within Microsoft 365, security teams need to stay vigilant. It's essential to proactively monitor and manage any gaps that might emerge. Why? Because these risk windows, moments when tokens are valid but policies haven't caught up, can be exploited if we're not careful. Reducing exposure during these windows is absolutely critical to maintaining a strong security posture. Moving on to proactive security measures, it's not enough to just set policies and hope for the best. We need continuous oversight to catch any issues early. Sometimes, compliance requirements might be temporarily unmet because policy enforcement is delayed. This lag can introduce regulatory risks or even penalties if not addressed promptly. In regulated industries, this challenge becomes even more significant. Delays in policy enforcement can leave open risk windows, meaning users might still access sensitive data from blocked locations hours after we've updated policies. That's why understanding and managing these risk windows in policy enforcement is so vital. It's all about closing those gaps quickly and ensuring that security and compliance are maintained at all times. Now, let's look at some techniques to speed up policy enforcement within Microsoft 365. As you know, implementing these security measures is crucial, but they can sometimes affect the user experience. So, it's all about finding that balance between security and usability. One way admins can do this is by forcing user signouts. This prompts users to re-authenticate immediately, which helps ensure that new policies are applied without delay. Another method involves revoking refresh tokens through the Azure AD portal or PowerShell, such as using the command revoke Azure AD user all refresh token. This effectively cuts off existing sessions and encourages re-authentication, speeding up policy enforcement. Lastly, session management plays a key role here. By reducing the lifetime of tokens, admins can minimize lag in applying security policies. Shorter token lifetimes mean policies are enforced more promptly, keeping your environment more secure. All these techniques help us respond quickly to security needs while maintaining a smooth user experience, which is really central to our overall security strategy. Let's talk about some of the challenges we face with legacy apps and modern authentication. These behaviors can really undermine our conditional access policies, which are critical for securing our environment. Because of this, we often need additional device management strategies to fill in the gaps. A key issue is that many mobile apps tend to hold onto refresh tokens persistently, even after a device has been wiped. This persistence can allow access to continue in ways we might not expect, which poses a security risk. Another challenge is that some apps simply ignore session controls or re-authentication prompts. This means they might bypass the safeguards we've put in place, making it harder to enforce our security policies consistently. Overall, understanding these behaviors is vital because they impact how effectively we can control access and protect our data in a modern, cloud-first environment. Now, let's explore zero trust and dynamic token evaluation. This is all about shifting from traditional static security policies to a more flexible, context-aware approach. Instead of relying solely on one-time authentication, security measures adapt based on the current situation. This means that access controls are no longer fixed. They can be challenged or revoked mid-session if the context changes. For example, if a device becomes compromised or the user moves to a different location. Tokens themselves are also more dynamic. They are updated on the fly, reflecting real-time information like device health, location, or potential risk factors. And crucially, zero trust security emphasizes continuous validation. Every access request is evaluated in near real time, based on the latest signals. This ongoing assessment helps us stay ahead of threats and ensures that security is always tailored to the current context. All of these concepts, adaptive enforcement, dynamic tokens, and continuous validation, work together to create a more resilient and responsive security model that aligns perfectly with our broader goal of protecting digital environments in a modern, evolving landscape. Now, let's look at how modern authentication and security are evolving within Microsoft 365. This dynamic model is designed to strengthen security, but it also requires careful tuning to strike the right balance with user productivity. It's all about making security seamless and adaptive. One key aspect is integrating app permissions and external risk intelligence into access decisions. This means that instead of relying on static policies, we're using real-time data to determine whether a user should access a resource at any given moment. Another important point is the use of re-authentication prompts. When the system detects increased risk or a lapse in compliance, it can prompt users to re-authenticate, adding an extra layer of security exactly when it's needed most. And that's where Azure AD and MSAL come into play. They enable continuous authentication by recalculating trust scores during active sessions, based on signals that are constantly evolving. This way, trust isn't a one-time check but an ongoing assessment, helping us maintain security without disrupting user experience. All of these elements work together to create a flexible, intelligent approach to securing our digital environment while supporting productivity. Now, let's look at how app permissions and network location work together as dynamic elements in modern authentication. These two factors don't operate in isolation. Instead, they complement each other to create a more nuanced and secure access decision. Essentially, access isn't just granted based on who you are, but also on the context of your login attempt. This approach allows us to fine-tune security, making it both more robust and adaptable to different situations. When we talk about network location, it's no longer about static allow or block lists. Instead, Azure AD evaluates login attempts dynamically, considering factors like unusual IP addresses or geographic anomalies. This means that if a login attempt comes from an unexpected location, it can be flagged for extra scrutiny. In real time, risk scoring can even trigger immediate challenges or blocks during the authentication process, further enhancing security. In modern authentication, network location acts as a risk signal that complements app permissions. Access tokens now include claims about the app's permissions, in addition to user identity and device compliance. This means that even if a user is compliant and meets all other criteria, restrictions can still be applied based on what the app is allowed to do. This adds an extra layer of control, ensuring that permissions are carefully managed at the token level. So, in summary, app-level permissions are embedded into access tokens, and these permissions play a crucial role in modern authentication. They help us enforce granular control and make sure that access is granted safely, even considering the operational context. Overall, this integration helps us build a more secure, adaptive environment where access decisions are made with multiple factors in mind. Effective hybrid security really relies on continuous monitoring, adaptive policies, and clear communication. These strategies are essential for managing the delicate balance between providing strong protection and maintaining a seamless user experience. So, when it comes to implementing these strategies, teams need to carefully tune token lifetimes, session revocation, and device compliance checks. The goal is to strike that right balance. For example, if you set tokens to expire quickly, it enhances security because users will need to re-authenticate more often. But at the same time, this can frustrate users and disrupt workflows. On the other hand, longer token lifespans make things more convenient for users, but they also increase the window of opportunity for potential security breaches. It's a trade-off we need to manage thoughtfully. Now, mobile apps and background services add another layer of complexity. These apps often silently refresh tokens in the background, and sometimes they hold onto old permissions longer than we'd like. This can lead to situations where security policies aren't applied immediately because these apps haven't refreshed or revalidated their permissions. Conditional access policies, combined with token lifecycle management, can also create confusion. Users might think recent security restrictions aren't being enforced because the new rules don't take effect right away, especially if they're using apps that hold onto old tokens. All these factors highlight how challenging hybrid work environments can be for IT teams. They need to enforce security measures without hampering productivity. Frequent prompts for authentication or session interruptions can be frustrating, especially for users moving between different locations, home, office, or remote setups. Balancing security and user experience in hybrid environments really requires ongoing effort and a nuanced approach. It's about finding that sweet spot where security is strong enough without compromising usability. So, as we wrap up, let's reflect on the importance of understanding the maze of Microsoft 365 authentication in order to secure it effectively. Modern authentication and security are at the core of this, and managing them requires embracing complexity. Tuning policies constantly is essential to keep our environment secure while maintaining productivity. This isn't a set-it-and-forget-it situation. Continuous adjustments are needed to stay resilient against evolving threats. Administrators, in particular, need to actively manage token lifetimes, monitor session activity, and understand how various signals interact. Digging into tokens and sessions helps us align our security controls with the actual business needs, making sure we're not just securing, but also enabling users. Real-time signals like app permissions, device health, and network location play a pivotal role. They're always shaping trust decisions on the fly. This dynamic layer adds complexity, but is crucial for adaptive security. However, we should be aware that policy changes don't happen instantly. Due to the way MSAL and tokens work, it can take hours or even days for these changes to fully apply, which can create gaps between our intended security posture and what users actually experience. Securing Microsoft 365 authentication isn't just about setting policies. It's about understanding how tokens, policies, signals, and device checks all work together. Conditional access policies set the rules, but the real magic, or challenge, lies in how token lifecycles impact their practical application. In the end, navigating this complexity is vital. It's about continuously balancing security and usability, understanding the interplay of all these elements, and adapting as needed to protect our environment effectively.